Hi, guys. It's Angelica Yingst. You may know me as Angie Yingst. Coming in for your Earth Medicine reading for April. I'm just trying to log in so I can see, make sure I get comments and stuff that's coming through. Now, this is not a live stream where I'm pulling cards or doing anything. I do one reading for the entire month. And what I do is both, I'm a tarot reader, but I'm an earth medicine practitioner. And I'm kind of moving away from using the term shamanic healer. So, how do I describe what I do now is maybe like transformational energy or earth medicine keeper, which means I use the medicine of the earth. So I use crystals, plant medicine, and animal medicine. I use a lot of traditional healing techniques from my culture and from my teachings. And I learned with Pixie Lighthorse. So I am coming kind of in to do the medicine reading for April. And I do this because I think it's really cool to like pull some cards and feel like what is this energy that's coming through. So, and then what I use an earth medicine ally. So we have 3 crystals that we work with. We have an herb, an animal medicine, and then a tarot card that I pull randomly. So this year, every card has been a major arcana, and this month is no different, but this has been a big year. So I'm going to kind of talk about the astrological aspects of the month. And then we'll talk about the earth medicine and the card. And so I also have a membership group that you can access on my website, which is just angieyinks.com or themoonandstone.com. They go to the same place. And I kind of do like readings at the new moon, the full moon, and do a shamanic journey. So that is for my membership group, and there's like a small fee associated with all those. So, oh, Liz, thank you. Liz said, I love Earth Keeper, such a beautiful way to describe this type of energy work. I like that one too. And I kind of feel like, what's hard about describing what I do is the shorthand as shamanic healer is a very easy thing because people are starting to know what that looks like. But the word shaman really comes from like one specific place in the world, which is like like Siberia and Mongolia area. So like that was the word they used for shaman, which was saman, I think. And then, that kind of got translated. But there is kind of this category of healer that is like a traditional healer for a village or community that use the medicine of the earth, and they use a lot of same techniques. So from Peru to Siberia, they have exactly the same kind of techniques. So that's interesting to me. And that's part of the reason I love the work that I do, because there's records of it being done for 40,000 years in very similar ways. And it's basically the healer accesses non-ordinary reality to get information for their clients and patients and all of that. Hi, Natalie Anderson. I miss you. So, kind of shifting out of using language that's specific to a time and place. And, the other part of being an earth keeper, an earth medicine keeper, or an earth medicine practitioner is like this work, and I'm sure a lot of you who are healers can relate to this, is not like I log in and I zip up and I tie my tie and I go somewhere and do this work. This work is like 100% in my life from, the time I go to sleep till I wake up, whether I'm working on a client, working on my children, working at my day job at Hibiscus Moon. It's the same. I'm always a steward of the earth. I'm always carrying this medicine. And that's what makes it difficult to kind of say, like, I do this thing, as a healer and a psychic and a reader and all of that stuff, like if I start listing out all these things I do, it's very limiting, and there's also a lot of baggage that comes with that. So, for me, I don't want to carry that much baggage. I'm um, who I am, and I'm a healer. And those of you who have worked with me, I know my work um, connects with certain people, doesn't connect with all people, and that's fine too. But I'm really, in the last few years, interweaving my heritage, my ancestral work, the healer bit that lives in my blood and my DNA, and down into like the smallest parts of my DNA that's been there for many years. As a Latinx woman, it's just, for me, really, really important for me to kind of stop using very narrow definitions and triggering off, people's ideas. Like, I really sometimes rebel against this idea of calling myself a tarot reader, because it sounds like fortune teller to a lot of people, and that's like the opposite of what I do. I kind of hand your fortune back to you, or hand your fate back to you when I read tarot. So that's kind of how I see it, and I'm just kind of bringing everything together. And it's really funny that the prism that's hanging in my window is currently straight on my face, so that's what's going on there. So hi Sue, hi Diana. Oh, thank you. Oh, Suze, oh my gosh, thank you. That's really sweet to hear. I try to have a lot of humility walking this path, but I also have to say, like, incredible stuff happens, when you do this work and engage with it and do it from the time you wake up till you go to sleep, and even in your dreams, right? Which I do. Like, I had a dream last night that I was having a whole I don't know, like, shamanic painting. I shouldn't say shamanic. I had a whole transformational painting workshop that lasted for days and days and days. And it's something I've been thinking about anyway. So it's really cool to kind of experience it in like dream life and see like how I would work out details and stuff like that. So hi, Ton. Yay. I know this is a few days late. So normally I do this like the 31st of the month before the first day, but my sister was visiting and I was really occupied with just trying to be present with my family. But I had so much, it was very interesting because I ended up pulling my cards and stuff before she came because I thought maybe I would be able to get it in before. And then I didn't. So I've been working with the medicine already for a few days and just kind of loving the energy. And I had some cool experiences. So, there's that. Hi, Steph. Liz said, I think this work causes us to be a part of multiple journeys on multiple levels, sometimes simultaneously. Yeah, there's constant change and constant miracles going on, just like the earth. Well done. I'm totally stealing that title. If that's okay. You can totally steal whatever you need. Oh my gosh. Aw, thanks, Ton. I put that up there, but workshop class, anything, I'm dying to take a class with you. I would love that. I would absolutely love it. So let's talk about the astrological energy of April, because April's actually starting out really good because nothing is in retrograde. Like, do you know how infrequently that happens? So it's really exciting. We're like squarely in Aries sun, so that's a lot of fun energy, right? It's like feisty and like passionate and creative. And I have a bunch of Aries in my house. That's the other part, is that my son's on the 1st, my daughter's on the 6th. So we have a lot of great Aries energy here. And they're kind of the baby of the zodiac. So we always can have new beginnings when we're in Aries season. So this is just like a really awesome, zingy time. I want to say the Z words. Because it's like kind of like zoom, we get to open up. And that's always fun. So we start April that way. We've got that nice spring energy. Well, it's been a little cold here in Pennsylvania, but I think it's going to get springy again. And so when we start April, we're in Aries, and then we move to Taurus, which is earthy. So Aries is a fire, and Taurus is earthy. So we kind of have this wonderful like movement from like, I love to think of it this way. So you have this fiery energy that starts like the spark of fire, and then the earth really grounds it and makes it into something special. So you need that spark, right, to start the ball rolling and getting excited about things. And then the earth grounds it and helps it become a reality. So lots of good energy. So in April we have the new moon's on the 11th. I have this little cool calendar from Mystic Mama, and it just has a little time. So that's what I'm looking at. So we've got this new moon in Aries. So if you don't know, and I probably say this every month, but the new moon is always in the same sign as the sun, and the full moon is opposite what the sun sign is. So we have our full moons in Scorpio, and because it's going to be opposite of Taurus, which is super watery. And that's going to happen on the 26th of April. So we don't have a ton of interesting stuff. Like, we don't have like big transits, but this just means that we can get stuff done. So the new moon's in Aries, and then Taurus season starts. And actually what's interesting about it is on the 14th, Venus enters Taurus. I'm kind of looking on my cheat sheet here. On the 14th, Venus enters Taurus, which is nice. That's kind of like, Taurus is known for its sensuality. Okay. It loves the pleasures of things. Like, the joke is always that Taurus loves to eat. What they really like are sensual pleasures. So they like things with nice textures. They like really good foods and tastes. They like wonderful smells. They're kind of interested in that sort of energy, the sensual pleasures. So we're kind of moving Venus into Taurus, which will be nice and delicious. That energy will be wonderful. And then Sun will enter Taurus, and then something else is entering Taurus. Did I write that down? Probably not. Yeah, Don said I must have Taurus somewhere. Hi, Kiko. Kayleen said her oldest is on the 2nd and middle's on the 7th. Yeah, my nephew's on the 2nd. So, and then I have like, traditionally, some of my closest friends have been like early April Aries. So Kira's that time, my friend Kira, who's also a tarot reader, my friend Sydney. So yeah, I love Aries women and men. Hi, Jay. Jay is one of my favorite Taurus men. Okay, so then we have, let's see, Mars enters Cancer on the 23rd of April. That Cancer energy is very emotional and watery and sensitive. And it's really nice that it's kind of Natalie's one of my favorite too, and she's April 13th. What was I saying? Cancer is kind of in this Mars. So Mars is our like fighter planet. So to have like Cancer energy cooling it down means that, we can kind of deal with any kind of conflict, anything intense can kind of feel a little like more emotional, like we can get more in touch with the emotions of it. So there's that. And I love that Cancer kind of comes in here and brings that feminine energy that we need in Mars. So some good stuff. We're kind of like we're retrograde free until the 27th of April, which Pluto goes retrograde, which usually doesn't affect us too much, but can. So let's kind of talk about some of the medicine. I wish I could do my own charting and everything. So I'm not really versed in that. So I use other people's charts, but then I kind of interpret what they're doing. So that's kind of what I'm seeing happening in April. So I feel like that's like a calmer astrological forecast than we've had in a while. Jay said, doesn't mean I'm going to be emotional wreck. No, because it's in Mars. So it's just more like around conflict. You can sort of be more emotional like more watery emotional than fiery emotional. Do you know what I mean by that? Like you're not going to want to fight as much as you're going to want to cry. And I find that to be much easier to deal with because my anger usually gets me into trouble, right? Okay, so for those of you who know, I just got a puppy and he apparently just made it up the stairs for the first time. So he hasn't been up here, but okay, guys. Okay. So they're fighting, Louie, and you know how every time I get on the computer, one of my dogs goes crazy. So come here, buddy. You guys want to see him? Come here. Oh boy. I'm so sorry. Charlie, come here. Come here. No, they're too busy wrestling. Can you hear it? Is it super loud? Hi, Amber. All right. Come here, baby. All right, here he is. He wants to wrestle. Oh, hi, baby. Say hi. Oh, I love you too. Okay. You can go wrestle again. I got licked in the eye. Isn't he cute? That's Charlie. He is going to be a little bear. Okay, so we're just going to try to ignore the dogs fighting behind me and hope that isn't something to come in April, which is like dog fights. Okay, so let's talk about the medicine that I pulled for this month. Okay, thank you guys. It's not too loud. Okay, so let's talk about what I pulled for April. Okay, so April. So it's kind of funny because like every month has been a major arcana, and I really do the whole deck and not just pulling out the majors. And the Hierophant is particularly challenging for some people, but I'm going to kind of talk about probably the most today about the Hierophant. The Hierophant is actually the card of 2021 because what we do in tarot is basically we will figure out the numerology of like a date, and then we'll pick a card to go with that numerology, right? So, and what I mean by that is, like we'll add, I'm going to just write it in here so you can see it. So you'll do like 2. So we have 2021 and we'll do 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1. And we'll break that down to a 5. Okay, I'm going to add that. And then show it to you. Okay, so 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5. You can do that for any date, right? Like you might do, so my birthday is like 1/4/1974. So if I add that all together, I get a 26. And then when I break that down even further, I add the 2 and the 6 together, I get an 8. So my card, my life path card is the strength card. But then I can add the 1 and the 5, the 1 and the 4 and get a 5 and add it to this 5. So this year I'm working with the Magician and the Wheel of Fortune. I usually break it down even further, but you can do either. So this is our card of the year, is the Hierophant, because it is the 5th card of the major arcana, so it has a 5. Now 5s in numerology deal with chaos and kind of like things being action oriented. So a lot of people think of this as being chaos, but it's really change. It's kind of, I think of 5s as being fire, right? They kind of transform things and they change things around. In the tarot, all of the 5s, and you might be curious about this, but all of the 5s deal with chaos of some kind. So you'll see the 5 of Wands, for example, has 5 kids battling with big sticks. The 5 of Cups has the cups overturned. We call that one the grief card. The 5 of Swords has the guy holding swords and like 2 guys walking away like he won all the swords, and we call that the empty victory card. And then the 5 of Pentacles we call the poverty card. It's a card of seeing people sick and poor. So when we see that kind of chaos, people tend to freak out. Now, the Hierophant is one of those cards that tends to be like, well, I don't understand how this relates to chaos. And part of it is because the Hierophant deals with rules and institutions and the law. So it basically comes in like, here's how you prevent chaos. We're going to put a pope and he's going to have a whole hierarchy of being, and this is what it means. So why the 5 is with the Hierophant is this is a response to chaos, okay? Is to have lots of rules, lots of stuff. Like here's how you live. And we know like a lot of people hate this card because they hate organized religion or kind of this idea of hierarchy. Like I can't, like the only person that can talk to God is the Pope. So that can be challenging too with the Hierophant. But I made some notes and everything about the Hierophant because this card, so if you don't know about the Tarot was kind of a parlor game, I guess, in Italy. And the decks were hand painted, and there were these trumps cards. They were the majors. Sorry. And they all had the archetypes. Well, this card was traditionally called the Pope. And the Pope got changed to the Hierophant when the Golden Dawn took over. Like I shouldn't say the Golden Dawn took over, but the Golden Dawn took on the Tarot, which was starting to be used as a divination deck. And the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, that's what they're called, were basically like pluralists or Christian mystics, and they believed in bringing together lots of different religious traditions to kind of give symbolism that transcended one tradition or another. So they changed the name of the Pope so it wasn't Catholic specific, and they called it the Hierophant, which actually is like a priest, but it was from the Greek or the Roman called Hierophantos. I didn't write that down. Hierophantos, from the ancient Greek. So the mystery schools use the Hierophantos as basically the one who delivered the 9 Eleusinian mysteries. And that's basically the mysteries. They were like rites, the sacred rites of the Eleusinian mysteries. And it's like a 9-day festival or something like that. And basically how they started this festival was that they had these sacred objects that were taken from the holy treasury and presented, and that would kind of open the Eleusinian mysteries. Did I get that right? Let me look. The 9 days. Yeah. I shouldn't say 9 Eleusinian mysteries. It's a 9-day festival or, sacred experience. The Eleusinian mysteries they're like a whole rabbit hole to go down. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn loves them. And they have to do with some of the mythology of going into the underworld and back out. And so the Hierophant translates that he who shows the sacred, because he was the first one to show the sacred objects from Athens, and then that would like start the mysteries, the 9-day mystery festival. So we do interpret him as the Pope usually, but the idea that he who shows the sacred can be a really, really powerful part of his medicine. And I want to pull out the High Priestess while we're talking, because I think they can be really nicely connected, especially if you're super connected to feminine, the divine feminine. Some people see the Hierophant as the divine masculine, which I'll talk about in a minute. They do definitely have similar stances. I think we dealt with the High Priestess in February. It was like in Pisces time, so maybe it was March. I don't remember. Anyway, so the High Priestess used to be called the Papist or the Popess, because this was a movement actually in the 14th century to get female popes and priests. It's funny, we're still fighting for that. And the Catholic Church is still fighting, or Catholics are still fighting for that. So she brings the divine feminine mysteries, and you can see all of her symbology. She has the light and the dark pillars that she sits between. These are the pillars of Boaz and Joaquin, which are listed on the front of the Temple of Solomon. That's where this comes from. The pomegranates in the back are all about fertility, and she holds this like divine mystery. So she's wearing the horn of Isis, the crown of, I think it's the crown and horns of Isis. She has the cross. She is holding a Torah. She's standing on the moon, just like the Virgin Mary's often shown. She is got a dress of water, she said. And so she deals with a lot of this esoteric knowledge. She brings it forth. She's said to not speak. So she kind of like talks without, like, with her mind. What do you call that? ESP, or, she works in that way. Whereas the Hierophant has his two people down here. His pillars are gray. Okay. And this is kind of like how traditional tarotists compare these two. This is about the inner truth. This is the outer truth, or what we project out there, the rules, the institutions, the laws. He passes this on. Yeah, telepathy. Thank you, Jay. I'm so sorry. This is a woman of a certain age. I cannot get my words. So the idea here is some people see her as the divine feminine and him as the divine masculine. I don't know. So one of I like that. I like that in a lot of ways, but I'm going to go into that in a little bit too. Oh, no, the Hierophant. Sorry. He's said to pass on. So you see he has two monks that are bald underneath here. One is wearing the roses. One's wearing the lilies. And they're the ones he passes on to. This is really important for the understanding in Catholicism that the divinity, so Peter is passed on from Jesus, the first rites. Okay, let me see if I have this. I don't want to mess up what I wrote here. Yeah, so the Catholic Church argues that Christ himself passed on the ability to perform the sacraments, okay? That's the important part of the Pope, the Bishop, what is it? Pope, Cardinal, Bishop, Priest, then Deacon, right? They pass on. They have a hierarchy and they pass on. So the rites, the ability to perform sacrament is passed from Jesus to Peter, and Peter to the next, and to the next, and to the next. And that's how the Catholic Church sees the lineage of each priest. So they're passed on this esoteric knowledge that was given from Jesus himself, right? I think of this as passing on a rite, a magical rite, and a masculine rite, the one to bestow, right? So in many like pagan thoughts, they use the word priest as one of the divine masculine that holds forth the rites and does the ceremony right alongside the high priestess. Okay. So you kind of have those things built in to these. So, what was interesting is one of the last times I taught in person, I had one of my students say, there is no way that Hierophant is a man. Okay. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, it's the Pope. Like it has to be a man. And then I started really thinking about this androgyny that Pamela Coleman Smith, the illustrator of The Rider-Waite, has. And I like the idea of the Hierophant being in drag. And that might be so sacrilegious to some people, but there's kind of a couple cards that are really androgynous. Part of it is the Hierophant and the Pope, they don't have a sexuality to them. There isn't a sense of like, they're first of all not allowed to be sexual, right? They're celibate, but they're wearing these robes. The funny thing was they kind of pointed out these shoes that are like pointy female shoes and how kind of delicate the hands are and stuff. And then comparing it to the high priestess, like they're very, very similar in their facial features. And I like the idea of them both being the same person, with our different aspects. So I really think this Gen Z is changing this whole non-binary way of thinking, or binary way of thinking of things, and making it very non-binary. So we can see the kind of interplay of gender in here, and the sexuality being kind of removed from both of these figures. And, one of the things I always teach my mentoring students is like, when you're male, you have the solar masculine, but you also have the lunar masculine. You have a mysterious part. And as women, as those of us who identify as female, we also have solar feminine, the feminine leaders who come out as very masculine seeming. But we are kind of combining both masculine and feminine. So I like kind of seeing the Hierophant this way, of having both masculine and feminine and being kind of androgynous in that way. Not that it matters that much, but okay. And also his crown, like he wears this crazy crown of the three tiers, which is said to be, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. It can also be body, mind, and spirit. It can be heaven, earth, and the underworld. So it introduces a kind of hierarchy and a kind of way of being. And then you have these people in the bottom learning. And I like the V's. I don't know what they traditionally symbolize, but this wonderful tarot writer named Marcia Messino, she talks about how these are two paths forward: the path of the lily, the path of the rose, and the cross keys. And she has a meditation with that, and that's what we're going to be working with this month. If you sign up for the Shamanic Journey, we're actually going to be meeting up with the Hierophant to get our teachings. Even we're going to be working with the animal as well, but I really find that is important. Now, we're working with the Hierophant for the entire year. So to work with it in a month and work with it in the year means it's really important. This is when we're going to start contending with our relationship with institutions. Okay. I think we already do kind of see that happening. I mean, the trial of Derek Chauvin is happening. We're questioning our institutions, correct? Like we're thinking about things of like the police. We're thinking of things about our government and freedom and things like that. So when we deal with the Hierophant, like if I get this in a reading, we think about it being about any institutions, okay? And when I get it in a reading, it's very different than when I'm talking about it as an archetype. You know what I mean? Because I'm talking about it relating to someone's life personally. Then as an archetype, we deal with both the upright and the reverse aspects of it. So we call this light and shadow. So, yeah. So hold on. Jay said, oh, this is a great question. Would they represent life and death? Yeah, I mean, exactly. There's a light and a shadow. The beauty way of the roses, and the lily is another way. Kali, I do not know what you're doing here. Asking everybody to DM you. I'm gonna just ask you to stop telling people to DM you. And I've just blocked you because I do not want people in here asking others for money or to yeah, we've got another troll in here too. This is not time for you to be doing this. Okay. Hi, Lauren. So sorry about that, guys. Pickpocket online visitors. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think, you can look at it that way. I tend to look at it as like the beauty way and the shadow way, so to speak. And the cross keys is the one that finds their own pathway forward. And there's no right way. But we'll be exploring that a little deeper in the shamanic journey. But when I work, I'm going to take a sip of water. I realize I'm going to start coughing if I don't drink some water. So when we talk about it as an institution archetype, we talk about all institutions, right? The institution of marriage. We talk about it for education, for the government, for like your job could even be an institution. Anywhere where you're passing down. A lot of times this comes for like when we're talking about education, like a university or something. Lauren, I'm not pulling cards right now. So the Hierophant comes in and kind of asks us, like, what's your relationship with your institutions? Like, and then on the other hand, it becomes the archetype for the bohemian when we're looking at it this way. The one that takes all of their family stuff, all their cultural stuff, and interprets it through a new lens. Okay. So we often get the Hierophant for people when they're in reversed, when they're doing stuff a little differently. So, for example, like someone who is polyamorous might get it this way. So it's not that they're kind of turning marriage in the way that they were taught marriage. Some people are, unless they come from a family that's also poly, and kind of like turning it, they're reinventing. They become people who have the Hierophant are like, they have the most interesting energy, right? Because they both like study institutions. They might be embedded in institutions, and they also totally subvert the institution. They kind of change things. They become the rebels, the provocateurs, the ones who really become the bohemians of the institution. And that can be like a really amazing part of the energy of the Hierophant. So while we really can work with the upright, we also work with the reverse. Okay, so that's what happens with that. Let me see if I missed anything here. The innovators, yeah, the innovators, they upset the cart. The other aspect of the Hierophant is that they pass the spiritual knowledge on. And so you kind of have these two different interpretations. One is of institutions and rules and laws and blah, 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 blah. The other is the one who passes on and receives the spiritual knowledge that they need. So the Hierophant is a spiritual card. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just about the church. It's not about spirituality. Well, it's both, in its ideal form. I knew that was going to happen. In its ideal form, it's both together, right? Yes, Kiko, it is recorded, and I put it on YouTube, and it's also on this Facebook page, so my personal profile. Okay, hold on. I'm just one more sip, and then I'll be fine. It's funny because I talk a lot for my job, and then I haven't talked like this much in all week. So, all right. So we're working with the Hierophant, and let's talk about the earth medicine for the month. Okay. So the earth medicine for the month. I pulled 3 cards for crystals. And so people always ask me, like, what is your favorite crystal as a crystal healer, an earth medicine practitioner? And I always run off my list. It's garnet, chrysocolla, black tourmaline, obsidian, malachite. I'll have a whole, Herkimer, Lemurian, blah, 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 blah. So this month they're all in here. So sorry, Kiko, I'm gonna okay. Hopefully I blocked that other person. So all right. First one I pulled is obsidian. Now obsidian is one of those interesting stones because it's actually not a crystal at all. It is an amorphous solid, so it's a glass. It's a volcanic glass. It's created out of volcanic activity. Okay? So, all right, I thought I blocked this person and they're still showing up here. But anyway, guys, I'm so sorry you're getting trolled. Please don't message anybody if they're offering to give you a reading. And I'm just saying that not because, like, you can definitely have a reading with whoever you want. It doesn't threaten me in the slightest. I just think they're trolls and they are going to try to take your money, tell your fortune. Solicit for your own readings. I don't usually go for people who try to get me to have a reading with them. So I've had terrible readings from people who solicit me. So whoever is on here trying to get readings from people or for people, just let it go. Let it go. Okay. All right. I've blocked this person, but they keep showing up here. All right. Let's talk about obsidian. Okay, so obsidian's a volcanic glass. The one thing that I love about obsidian is that it holds that kind of volcanic energy. So it's very earthy, but it's also like got that fiery energy. My teacher always warns, this is a raw piece, and it looks like glass. Like you can see the kind of way it breaks. It's very glass-like. My teacher always warns about using obsidian, but obsidian's been used for many, many years in the Americas in particular. And I'm thinking particularly in Mexico, where it's used traditionally as a scrying stone. And so the card itself says obsidian self-reflection. And it works with, oh, you can see yourself in there. See the reflection? That's the cool part. This is a scrying stone of obsidian. And scrying is used to kind of divine in, to kind of like read energy and whatnot. But it is very reflective of the shadow, okay, which goes along really nicely with the Hierophant. And, I use it for cutting cords. This is one of those really cool obsidian needles, and we use it to pull things out of, to pierce we think of it as piercing the energy field to allow things to flow out. I use it. I have an obsidian blade that I use to cut cords. For example, Liz in Mexico, she shared this. In Mexico, they teach a whole course about obsidian healing, and people swear by it. Yeah. So you can find an incredible amount of tools with obsidian. I have my obsidian skull that I use for ancestor work and meditate with, which I love. It's just so connected for me. And again, like, I'm just telling you that my teacher, Hibiscus Moon, warns against using obsidian over the heart. It isn't supposed to be used over the heart. It is supposed to be used as a meditation tool, to use as a tool for cutting things out. It is strong. So one of the things about obsidian, like you'll see obsidian arrowheads, they're quite easy to find to buy and they're inexpensive because people will hand nap them. But for example, obsidian was used as arrowheads in war because it, represented death, life and death. So, and when you're killing a person or injuring a person, the obsidian was used to honor that. So they have that heavy energy of life and death. My favorite obsidian tool is my obsidian anatomical heart, which you can see is a rainbow obsidian. You can see it going like that. It's hard with the reflection. But I use this a lot to get to the heart of the matter. So I'll journey with it and kind of go in, and it just takes you really, really deep. And so I'm loving all the obsidian tools that we can find now, and there's a lot of really important work to be done with obsidian. So thank you for that, Ton. Thanks, Kiko. Kiko said, wow, cool. And Ton said, wow, that needle. I know. Aoife said, how is the scrying stone worked with for personal use? Okay. I love this scrying stone. So you basically put the scrying stone in front of you. So you can see one side is dull. The one side is polished to a reflection. Okay. So what I do is I put like a candle, like if I have this on my table and I have a candle like here. So the candle will kind of reflect up it'll kind of like give you different movements reflected on. And so say I'm reading for someone, their face is also going to be reflected in. And so what you do is you let your eyes go kind of slack, like in between focus and unfocused, and you kind of look into the glass. Okay. And you do it kind of, some people skim the surface. You can scry with water, you can scry with mirrors. The black obsidian is said to be a really good personal scrying tool. And when you do the scrying, you're supposed to be like asking the question, and then you're looking at like what kind of images are dancing on the surface of the scrying stone. And that's when you can kind of like go in, and it's basically like you do a reading on what's being reflected in the stone. Does that make sense? In the mirror, we call it scrying mirror or scrying stone. So does that make sense, Aoife? Kiko said, I have a rainbow obsidian palm. Haven't worked with it much. I have a smoky quartz extractor and I love it. Ooh, see, smoky quartz is another great one to work with shadow and to pull things out. So wonderful. Lynn said, coolest tools. Wow. Thanks, Lynn. Yeah, I do. Like this heart is something, actually, someone I work with named Alyssa, who's our customer service person, customer support person at Hibiscus Moon. She bought one and brought it back. We were sharing a room together, and she's like, do you want to hold it? And I was like, yes. I never have seen an anatomical heart. I held it and I was like, I've never felt anything like this. Like I felt like my ancestors were there. Like it was just the most incredible feeling. And I thought about it all year. When I went back the next year, first place I went was to the obsidian guy and bought an anatomical heart. And then when I went back 2 years later after that, I did see that there were a little more of them available, like in different places. But I had only seen one guy, and I'm like, are you the one who does this? He was like, yeah, I do them. So it was like I met the guy who, shaped my anatomical heart, which is cool. So cool, Aoife. Okay. So obsidian is your first ally this month. And again, we're about doing the inner work here of looking at shadow and doing it around your relationship with spiritual teachings, with our spiritual teachers, with our spiritual institutions, and really kind of looking within about how and why we react to our spiritual teachings the way we do. It is starting to get dark. I wasn't expecting to go this long, so I'm going to quick turn on a light. Can you see me a little better? Oh my gosh. This is my reputation of not being short. I'm a little long-winded. Okay, our second stone, my favorite stone probably is garnet. And garnet's dealing garnet is super protective. One, it deals with bravery here in this card, but also deals with just like deep grounding. This garnet is a natural dodecahedron. This is how it comes out of the earth. This is polished, but it's shaped as a dodecahedron. It's natural, which I find incredible because this dodecahedron kind of holds this natural, beautiful sacred geometry. And I absolutely love that part of garnet. Otan said one of mine too. Amber said, I was just gifted an obsidian arrowhead the other day. It's perfect for cutting cords, Amber, and especially healing trauma. I use obsidian for healing trauma, if I didn't mention that, and kind of getting deep with that stuff. So it is a wonderful ally for doing things like EMDR and trauma stuff. So yeah, it's a really, really good one. Garnet, mi amor. Yeah, exactly. Julie said, love seeing you and hearing you. Oh, Julie, I miss you so much. I know it's our birthstone. We need it. And yeah, like you can find big ones of these. Aaron said, my garnet is same shape, just smaller. Yeah, the smaller ones hold the same medicine as the big ones. And in fact, this is only practical for my altar. I bought it in Tucson at an incredibly discounted price, but I do carry like a smaller garnet with me all the time. In my medicine bundle, I have almandine garnet, which is this red one. And then I have a spessartine garnet, which is the orange one, and then a grossular, which is the yellow. And I work with the lower chakras because I'm healing deep trauma and stuff like that. So Kiko said, so gorgeous. On my list of desires, garnet dodecahedron, my birthstone. Yeah, you'll have a better time finding them at gem shows, which hopefully will be opening this year. But yeah, garnet, one thing, I think it was Sage Goddess when I studied with her. I studied with her like in 2012, I think. She did this wonderful meditation where she took garnet and put it like a belt. Like she took this garnet belt and put it around the hips as like a shield and a protective like element, like a visualization. This was in Journey. Like she just used this as a protective stone. And I love that image of like visualizing garnets around my root chakra, around the hips. So beautiful and perfect. And you can kind of think of that. It's like both gorgeous. What I like about it too is it resonates in the heart. So you can really work with like self-love and grounding and protection. This is particularly good, I find, when healing from the sister wound. And I call the sister wound the one where we have some friendship upset or breakdown, or in circle, there's an issue with our sisters. We don't fit in. We don't feel like we belong. Garnet's a wonderful assistant for that. So when we're talking about, working with it as an ally with the Hierophant, not only is it super protective and it just looks like a sacred stone, we can also heal some of the wounds that can come from being in circle with other people. And some of the wounds that we get through our friendships and our friendship losses in particular, which can sometimes be a little more devastating sometimes than our losses of, romantic relationships, especially if we're monogamous, right? Because we have one partner, but we have many, many friends. So like when we lose a friendship, we're kind of like, man, like you can have 1,000 of me. So I love garnet for that. And I love its connection to bravery. And so we're talking about this because a lot of times standing up against institution takes bravery. I know last year when Black Lives Matter really kind of hit the mainstream, like, I've been posting about Black Lives Matter since 2015 or something, like a really long time. And I remember people saying, you shouldn't post that. You're going to lose followers. You're going to lose people. And it takes bravery to stand up against institutions, and that's kind of the medicine to bring forth this month too, is like to dig deep. And you might not be someone who wants to get on a platform and talk about political things or radical things. That's fine. That you don't have to do that, but you can do it in small ways. I read a wonderful meme today. It's like if men just said to guys, dude, that's not cool. Could you imagine how the world would change? So those kind of things can be just as important as, fighting the man on the steps of the White House, So let's think about the ways in which we can be brave against all kinds of institutions, especially spiritually exploitative ones, which seems to be highlighted this month. Okay, last one is chrysocolla for some people. They use this as spontaneity. I don't use chrysocolla like that at all. Here's what the stone looks like. This is another one of my favorites. When in doubt, I put a chrysocolla on it or a garnet. So these are my two favorites. The thing about chrysocolla is that it is a stone that includes lots of stone. I think the chrysocolla is this kind of bluish green, and then you have shattuckite. The brown in there is cuprite. Kind of brings a lot of different energies together. I share this quite a bit, but I was working with someone who was healing a mother wound. Okay, do you know what that means? There was childhood neglect and abuse, and the mother was older and in poor health, and she was now the caretaker. Okay. And yeah, it looks like a globe, Aaron said. Beautiful, looks like a globe. It does look like a globe. And so I dropped into Journey as I was doing healing work on my client, and I kind of was suddenly dropped in this place where there was a huge waterfall, and there was a woman sitting there knitting, and it was Mother Earth. She was like super pregnant, and she looked like I have like a Mother Earth statue. She looked just like her. And she was taking like all the little twigs and the leaves and the moss, and she was taking them and weaving them together, like knitting them together, and just like taking the medicine of the earth and weaving them, right? And then she got done, and it turned into a blanket, and she put the blanket over my client. And when she looked up at me and looked back down, it was a chrysocolla heart, which I have a couple of them because I buy them and give them away a lot. But chrysocolla kind of, for me, is the medicine that we bring forth as healers when someone really needs mothering, and they need it from Mother Earth because they don't have anybody else to mother them. And they become the mother they need. And chrysocolla is very, very helpful for that. So it's funny to get kind of like the authority, right? And coming through as like learning to remother yourself with chrysocolla. So we have these three amazing stones: obsidian, garnet, and chrysocolla, kind of working together with this Hierophant energy. And come over here. Amber said, never heard of chrysocolla before. So chrysocolla, people pronounce it chrysocolla. So the only difference in your spelling is the I should be an A. Okay, Amber? So if you're searching for it, it'll probably come up anyway. But chrysocolla is a copper-based stone. It grows you'll find it with malachite. I don't have any malachite within distance of pulling. Shattuckite, azurite, That's the blue, the azurite. I said malachite. So malachite, turquoise, shattuckite, malachite, cuprite, azurite. They're all copper based. Even ahoite is, but you'll rarely find that. But that's kind of the base is copper. So they often grow together. So you'll find kind of, I don't know if you can see all the different colors in here, but they're all different mineral. They're all different forms of copper. Okay, got it? It's so good, Amber. It's worth it. Again, another one I use for trauma healing, especially around childhood neglect. So those who are suffering and from the adult ramifications of childhood neglect, and I don't mean physical neglect. I don't just mean physical neglect. That can definitely be part of it, but emotional neglect can be an important part to heal from too. So both of those. Kiko said, I just ordered Chrysocolla with black tourmaline heart. Can't wait to get it. Oh my God, that sounds amazing, Kiko. Jay said, I have Chrysocolla and black tourmaline bracelet. Yes. You also had a Chrysocolla and black tourmaline piece for a while that I loved. I thought it was so beautiful. Okay, so those are the stone medicine this month. The herbal medicine this month is calendula. Okay. I used Ceola Thompson's book. Ooh. Okay, there we go. And she has these cards that are really awesome. If you ever want to use them, I forget what they're called. I always do this. This is the book, the Hedge Witch Field Guide, and I think it's the Hedge Witch Botanical Oracle. It's wonderful if you use botanicals. So it has both how to use it and not. Calendula is a healing herb, a healing flower. So the flower part is what we use. And it really is like the happiness flower. You know, we use it to bring in joy, to bring in happiness, to brighten things up. It also is physically good for healing like muscles and kind of brightening the skin and brightening things up. So how would I use this in, the month? Like, how do I use my plant medicine? Well, you can use it in a lot of different ways. If it can be orally taken, you can make it as a tea. Like this is a wonderful blend of herbs that I made. And I'll show you just a pinch. This is like lavender, calendula, and rose. And I'll just like put it like this is an aventurine cup. So I'll just put like a little pinch of it in this aventurine cup, and I'll put that on my my altar and then offer it to the earth when the month is over, or I'll burn it in my cauldron when the month is over. So I just kind of call in that energy, and then I'll kind of work it into some of the medicine that I'll use. Like I might put it in some oil and rub it on my skin. If you know Annie at Primal Vinyasa, she makes an oil, and I have purchased it. It's like olive oil with calendula, and you just use it to oil your skin. And oh my God, it is unbelievable. I kind of got out of the habit of doing it, but it really made me like feel loved and loved myself, like self-love ritual, which was really nice. So I get out of the shower and just put that oil all over my body, and it just felt amazing. So another great use of calendula. Okay, so then let's talk about the animal medicine. So the animal medicine was very, very interesting this month because I just did a journey at Altaview Wellness Center where I work in Harrisburg, and I offer journeys there. And I do private one-on-one work there, of course. And last month it was literally 2 weeks ago or a week ago. I did a shamanic journey with cougar. Okay. So cougar, mountain lion, same thing, puma, same animal, different names, depending on, like, puma is the Quechuan name, and Cougar is usually used in South America and mountain lions used in North America, but they're the same animal. Okay. So I decided to get a new deck that I don't ordinarily use off of my shelf, which was the medicine cards. I don't know if you've ever seen these. They look like this. They come in this little thing and they have a big book with them. And so I pulled Jaguar. And I was like, I just did a big cat. I'm not doing Jaguar. So I pulled another deck and pulled the Jaguar card. So I guess Jaguar is working with us this month. And in this deck, Jaguar comes in as the Black Panther. Again, another confusing part is that Jaguar, Panther, same name, different energy, same name. So I'm working with Jaguar. Jaguar is both spotted and the black version is black. So we're working with Jaguar this month. I'm going to work with Jaguar and Hierophant together. I just feel like we're going to journey to meet the Hierophant, and Jaguar is going to help in that journey. So, and I brought this cool thing that my friend David gave me, and he got it in Mexico. It's used by that was used in Mexico shamanic rites to recreate the sound of the jaguar. Are you ready for it? So we're calling in Jaguar with that medicine. I kind of feel like I accidentally did that because during the mountain lion, I did this. And I'm looking at it now and it's black and spotted. It's probably not the cougar at all. It's probably the jaguar. So anyway, Jaguar medicine is really about working with fear. My teacher uses Black Jaguar for working with shadow. Or I think she calls it Black Panther, but she kind of uses it to stalk the shadow and to work with shadow. She calls it gold. She has a book called Gold Mining the Shadows with and she uses Black Panther. So we're going to be working with that, but primarily also working with the Hierophant. It's going to take a couple days to get this up and running. So I can visualize the temple that we're going in, and I can see a jaguar on one side and a Black Panther on the other. So I feel like we're going to be working with them like the pillars of the Hierophant, or more like the pillars of the High Priestess. Okay. Jaguar is like the third biggest cat in the world. And it obviously is a nocturnal hunter. It's marked to hide in the shadows, right? So it's working with so a lot of people ask me what is shadow? What does that mean? Because I use that word a lot. Shadow is kind of think of it as the response to pain, to trauma, and it's the part of us that we kind of keep hidden. Okay, so it's the part of us that we find very challenging to acknowledge. Okay, prime example is this is one that my teacher kind of uses that I find very, very useful. Okay, so you get married, you're with your husband, and this is very heteronormative. I'm sorry. You say to your husband, "Could you please take the garbage out?" This is one that Pixie used, and I find it very, very useful. So if you've heard it, I'm sorry. And then your husband says, "Sure, I'll take the garbage out." And then the next day you realize the garbage never got taken out. And the yelling starts, right? You never listen to me. And he responds, "You're always nagging me." Okay. Always and never are good indications that some kind of shadow dance is beginning to happen. And you're starting that, because what it's basically saying, what happens with shadow is like this. You remember the first time you were hurt in the same way. Okay. It's like a neurological response to the same stimuli. Okay. That might be the way, a trauma happens. It might be the lighting, the smells, the whatever. It can just be something smaller, like the way your parents used to talk to you, for example, like not listening to you. This is a big one for women. And I think that's why I love Pixie's illustration so much, is that she's like, you never listen to me. Why? Because children at least used to be taught that you should be seen and not heard. Okay. So when the shadow comes out, it now takes over. It says, whoa, like, hey, I've seen this before. I remember when this happened. You were like 5 and they told you were talking and talking and talking and trying to remind them of something, and they just told you to be quiet and shut up, or they didn't listen to you, and bad thing happened. They forgot your birthday, even though you're reminding them, or whatever. So the shadow is like, I always think of the shadow being the age that the trauma happened, and now it's running the show, right? Now you're in a fight with your husband about the garbage, but you're the 6-year-old whose birthday got forgotten, and he's acting out of the shadow of his mom going, clean up your room. You're such a slob. You have to do it. And doing it every day, 3-4 times a day, nagging and nagging and nagging him till he's like internalized this, I'm messy. I am not good enough. I'm not blah, blah, blah. So the second he hears some criticism, he lashes out at age 13. So he's acting like a 13-year-old and you're acting like a 6-year-old. Okay. So when your shadow is in charge, and most of the time people are unconscious of the shadow being in charge until they start doing therapy and shadow work, which shadow work is usually done in therapy. I'm seeing a lot of people on TikTok who are like 14 talking about shadow work. And I'm like, good Lord, stay in your lane, child. Let's get a therapist and a grown-up in here to talk about shadow work, because, even as a earth medicine practitioner, I don't really think it's my place to do shadow work with people. And Kira and I have a couple podcasts on shadow work where we really, really deep dive into it. But I really do think like it's better done in therapy. As a shamanic practitioner, as someone who does that work like soul retrieval and things like that, I only do that after they've done a lot of significant work and are ready and capable of bringing that soul back from soul loss and trauma. So anyway, shadow work is that part of us that goes, whoa, that was a way different reaction than my husband forgot to take the garbage out. I just freaked out on him. I just yelled at him instead of just like normal people, not shadowed out, not triggered. People who just are existing. If their husband forgets to take out the garbage, they're like, oh, I guess something came up for him and I'll just take it out now. Now that I noticed, I'll take it out. They don't take it personally, right? They might get annoyed, but they don't take it personally. So that's the important part of doing and understanding your triggers, and then going like, okay, I think I need to do some exploration here about what triggered me in that situation. So I'm going to take some water now. So when I say that Jaguar or Black Panther can work well with shadow, we can think of them in Journey as being the one to flush out some of those shadows. It's not easy work by any means, but it really does work best when you're doing it in concert. I can say that when I work with things like Black Panther in shadow during Journey, or Black Panther for shadow in Journey, I'm not asking them to do shadow work. What I'm asking them to do is look at this one situation, like your relationship with religion or with spirituality, and ask to be made aware of some of the triggers and shadow that exists in that realm. And then that's the work that can be brought out. So one of the things about Shamanic Journey is like the work doesn't end with the journey. That's when the work starts. So you basically go in for info, then come out and then do your work. Does that make sense? So that's the valuable part about shamanic journey, is that it's not just like once and done thing. You kind of bring out the medicine to work with moving forward. So, okay. Coming over. Oh, you guys all like that. That cool Black Panther. That's awesome. Thank you guys. Amber said, as someone with a lot of shadow, get a therapist. Exactly. I mean, honestly, like I couldn't do the work I do today if I didn't have therapy. And I go to therapy every 2 weeks. I'm not ashamed of that. I've done that consistently since 2014. And before that, I did therapy here and there, like in different, year-long blips. I've consistently seen the same therapist since 2014 because I am a bereaved mom, and I went in when I was pregnant with Zachary. That's how I know when. And I knew I was going to have a lot of anxiety, and I thought, I'm just going to go before the anxiety comes so I can tell my story. And then I found out that this was just so useful. My therapist, Beth, I work with her just going to check in. And we've worked on really big shadow things. And then some weeks I go in and just be like, okay, this happened and that happened and this happened. And it's just I'm not processing a ton. But I do find therapy to be incredibly useful. And, I just think that we do a disservice in our community when we talk about like this kind of energy work replacing therapy. They should be done next to each other because that's how it works best. So Lynn said, shadow work needs to be personalized for each unique life journey. Yep, absolutely. So this is the medicine of the month, and I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly did. I wasn't expecting it to be so long, so I apologize. But thanks for hanging out. It'll be available on replay on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And then, of course, here on Facebook, you should be able to see that. So thanks, guys. Does anybody have any questions before I go? I'm not pulling cards right now, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Aw, thank you, Todd. I do these every month. It's just, I wish I was better at planning them and letting you guys know when they're going to happen. But I usually am flying by the seat of my pants. 3 kids, 2 dogs. So thank you guys. Kiko said, what is my YouTube channel? I think it's just Angie Yangst. I don't know. So bad. Oh my gosh. So yeah, just search Angie Yangst, you'll find me, or the Moon and Stone. Oh, I love and miss you too, Amber. It was great to see you, quote unquote, see you on here. Susan said, when are you doing journey? So every month I do the journey, Susan. And I put them up as audio, so they're available. And I do a membership on my website. It's like $20 a month, and you get a journey every month. It's a half-an-hour journey. I describe the medicine of the animal that we're working with, and then we do a shamanic journey, and I write them and send them to you. I also have a ton of journeys for sale on my website at just angieyanks.com. So it's another one. Hi, Rose. It's so good to see you. Dawn. Oh, I love to see you too. Oh, I love seeing all these people. Oh my goodness. Dawn is the most incredible massage therapist. I wish I was coming to Oregon. Oh, Stephanie. Yay. Stephanie was at the Cougar Journey last week. So thank you. Holly said, yes, that's your YouTube. Thanks, Holly. You rock. All right, guys. I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.